Hey everyone, it's Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And I'm very pleased to introduce to our audience Martin Hager of Retarus. Martin, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Doug, for giving me the opportunity.
Well, I have to start by apologizing. I probably have mispronounced your name and your company, but nevertheless, we will soldier on and talk about your company and what you're doing. So the big headline, and we have it crawling there, is Retarus is named a leader in the 2024 IDC MarketScape for Worldwide Digital Fax.
Yeah.
And this did catch our attention because we normally don't have those words all together, even in one sentence. Fax and worldwide leader and so on. It's not usually a hot topic. So tell me a little bit more about this.
I might add another word you wouldn't have in the line with fax and leader is 2024. Huh?
Yes, especially 2024.
Yes, no, we're really proud about being nominated a leader by IDC and being appreciated here. Well, you did pronounce it very well, but I'm really flexible, because in America, most of our customers and my colleagues, they pronounce it Retarus. I'm not even pretending, Me being a German, I call it Retarus, and my name is Martin Hager.
Okay.
But there's a Hagerstown in Maryland I still have to visit. Seem to have family here. So we are a very established company, I would say. We're bootstrapped, like from 1992. I founded that company, and we do all kinds of things with messaging and only. So we started with email, we got into fax, we got into SMS texting, we got into an EDI, so that's another thing. So we basically help people, well, large enterprises is our clientele, to communicate with their market, with their people, with their applications for both data and documents, kind of a way, like enabling them, securing that. We're good 450 roundabout people. We're across the world. We're running our data centers ourselves, and we do this faxing thing. And we're the only European now here in the US being nominated a leader, which is really great.
Now, actually, a part of our discussion today, you're going to be talking about the true cost of fax, how 1% reliability increase can lead to millions in savings. And I think we even have like a graphic on this. Is that right?
A beautiful graphic, even.
All right. Well, let's share that a little bit. And you'll
usually with you, oh, there's a fax coming. Oh, here it is.
So what are we looking at here?
So one thing in cloud services in general, the market is mature. We all understand that managed services, ASP, MSP, cloud has been around for many, many years by now. But in a lot of those niche industries, like for example, in the cloud fax market, there's a big lack of understanding, like how does quality really look like and what does it mean and why is it important? Now, let me give you this example here. Like our customers, our clientele, as I said before, is typically large enterprise, it's large banks, insurances, it's healthcare. And if those jobs take a long time to go out, so round trip time, or if they don't arrive at all, that is causing a huge problem to enterprises. And I think now with service providers like us, we can really make a difference here, and we can show why it is important to look at it. Now, in this scenario, if you're sending 1 million fax pages a year, which is a lot of paper from the receiver side potentially, like 1% can make a huge difference, because every single fax that did not go through has to be followed up. So let's say in a very good scenario, customers already have a success rate of 95%. Go to the next page. So that means that 95 being the target. So 94%, you're looking at an error rate for whatever error of 60,000 faxes that need to be followed up.
Wow, okay. And so you're adding administrative cost with those errors.
It's not only administrative cost, and that can cause real trouble, like from a compliance perspective, that can cause trouble from a liability perspective, that can simply make customers or business partners completely annoyed. Why don't you react and reply and respond? And following up on those failed communication is way more expensive than people think. Like we know it from a food delivery company, like They send a lot of faxes and emails. Like every order that doesn't go through to the pizza shop needs to be followed up by a call center or contact center. And then you're looking at something like between $15 and $35 for following up on that order, which means you're making a huge loss. And that sums up to really big money here. Like at 6% error rate, you're looking at a conservatively calculated probably $1.5 million in cost for the failed fax transmissions. So if you can only lower that by a single percentage point, you're saving $250,000. And which is really annoying for me because our services are so affordable, like 1 million pages at 10 cents per page will only cost you $100,000, and you're actually saving $250,000 that way.
So the ROI must be very quick if you're out there doing this.
It's not only the ROI, but it's also the reputation. When you talk to large organizations about risk management, that's a CEO topic. And then it's damage, it's reputation. And reputation is much more expensive than any damage you could possibly have. Once in a service, especially service and trust-based industry, if you lose reputation with your clientele, that costs you your existence potentially.
Now, could you give us actually a hard example? I don't want to hear names of companies, but have you actually been witness to a situation where a brand sort of damaged itself with this?
Yes, absolutely. For example, data loss is one thing. Everybody's aware of that. In the US especially, it's a very painful thing to discuss. But we've seen a situation ourselves where a single failed fax can cost...
One fax, just one.
One single. Not being sent on time to, in a regulatory situation, $860,000 of damage.
Almost $1 million.
Yeah, plus legal fees.
Now, those are hard costs. In other words, you're not talking about a theoretical.
No, that's cash,
loss.
and that happened.
That was cash. Okay.
That was cash, and that happened. And I think is this type of communication, not only fax, but as well as email or transactional email, especially for commercial documents, that needs to be looked at much more intensively by both partners and customers because it is life critical for enterprises. We have a very large customer of ours in Europe, is one of the world's leading manufacturer of whitewares like dishwashers and washing machines and stuff. And they said, if our ERP system, if our SAP fails for 3 or 4 days, yeah, that's bad. That's a drama. But if our email or our faxing system fails, that's a catastrophe because that way we lose connection to our customers and we can't receive orders. And if you don't receive orders, business goes somewhere else to our competitors. So under all circumstances, this communication way needs to be secured.
And are you telling me that even now, in addition to email, fax remains a method that companies use to actually place an official order?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely. It depends very much on the type of industry. Sometimes it's cultural, like we do business ourselves with our own subsidiaries in a good dozen countries. And there are different tastes and so on. But especially in very large countries with diverse business relationship, like big company doing business with a lot of small companies, it's more documents which are being exchanged for doing businesses between enterprises. It's not so much data. If you are in a highly dense market, like in Germany, everything is data. And I think the Germans are in love with data and they look at documents differently. But in the US, for example, in banking, for example, in healthcare, but also manufacturing, you have a lot of documents that need to be exchanged. And then it is a wise thing to ask the recipient what would be convenient for you. And pretty often, it's the one thing that is super compatible, that is super cheap, and that works reliable, and is trackable. And we all know, I've been doing email longer than faxing, even if that sounds a little weird, but basically with email, you only know that you sent it. but you don't know if it arrived. And that's still the big difference with faxing. It's the same document. It's just a file transfer without TCP/IP, but you have a proof of receipt.
And that little difference makes a difference, right? That is true, right? With an email, we've all had the experience of sending a critical email that never got there.
Yes. And there is no way to trace it.
Right.
Because you look at the MX and you look at the backup MX and most transactional email systems, and I mean, we do that differently, they don't store the session information. So you have no chance of proving that you actually sent that message.
With fax, you do.
With fax, you do. And we control the whole stack. Like we don't do anything on any hyperscaler. Like we run everything in our own data centers. We get audited every year by our banking customers. We are SOC 2, SOC 3, 27001. And we're really making sure that, well, maybe German over engineering, it's good for our customers, that every single message we receive, we actually transport, and we make a good log of it so we can prove it for our customers that this transaction has been done correctly. Because again, we think communication is super critical for large enterprises.
And what I guess I'm hearing is there's maybe 2, maybe 3 levels of regulation. In other words, there's the legal issues that are sitting between 2 companies and the potential of having to go to court, what those courts might require as receipt. So I think what I just heard is we're walking into court with a dispute. Your argument's going to be better if you have a proof of receipt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We sent an email.
Absolutely. And then you have continuity things like in banking at the moment, it's DORA, which is standing around the banks, like getting them very, very busy, that they have to prove the continuity, disaster recovery. And you have to practice and you have to, again, be able to prove it. Or in Europe, NIS2 is like happening for every company that is critical infrastructure. Like we are one of those critical infrastructure providers as well, because whole supply chains rely on our services, like large supply chains in the automotive industry, for example, from both the OEM, the car brands, everybody knows, down to tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. They all communicate like crazy all day long. And this is happening all in the background. This is very far away from consumer business.
So Martin, what are the applications? It seems like there's a lot of industry applications, lots of specific verticals where fax actually is used a lot.
Yes. It's mostly used in America. It's mostly used in healthcare and in finance on a very broad scale. But you see a lot of it in the retail supply chain. You see a lot in manufacturing, or generally speaking, a lot of supply chain situations as well.
So just a note to everybody, if you're running around selling to retail, you have customers that are retail, you have customers that are healthcare. Maybe you have dental offices, maybe medical centers, maybe whatever. This needs to be on your radar. It may not have been something you're selling. It could be something you should be thinking about.
This is a great situation here for the channel, because customers are actively looking at exchanging their equipment. Now, with the advent of FoIP, or fax over IP, or voice over IP, and all the analog or digital lines going away, this is causing trouble for some of those fax servers, which have been humming along happily, or kind of happily, I hope, for enterprises for years. Now, suddenly they're on the focus again. And things should be consolidated. So customers are looking at consolidating this fax over here from that version, that vendor, in da. And this is where Retarus can offer a really, really good opportunity for partners to analyze what customers are doing, consolidate it, bring that next level, and increase quality at the same time. Because
Martin, before we go on to the next segment here, I think that everyone's maybe got a mental block. I know I do. The minute I hear fax, I'm thinking of that yellowing machine, and it's making a funny noise, and it's spitting out one little piece of thermal paper, and it's all rolled up. We're not talking about that. We're talking about server-to-server communication.
Yes, we're talking about server-to-server communication. We're talking about server-to-MFD communication. Like, for example, in healthcare, when we send jobs on behalf of one of our laboratory providers to a doctor's office, it's an MFD. And then we have organizations with thousands of MFDs where they just want to get rid of the analog line in the MFD and then send that over our systems. So, but it's always an integration scenario we're looking, and it's large scale. So at the moment, we do a rough 750 million fax pages a year on our own data centers.
Wow.
Yeah, that takes you to the moon if you stack it in paper.
And we don't know, right? But if you're, let's say, for argument's sake, maybe 18, 19, 20% of the market as a company, we could be looking at a 3.5, maybe even 4 billion document world.
Yes.
And that's just in the markets you serve, which is EU, maybe UK, US, and so on.
Yes.
Yeah. So this could be 5-6 billion if you look at the whole world.
Absolutely. And it's not going away that fast. I mean, our industry is usually only able to sell one product at a decade. So fax must be dead. But it's quite ignorant of what really happens in reality. You know, if technology is working sufficiently well, is not annoying customers, is affordable, and doesn't risk your business processes, people will exchange. They're very late. They're very reluctant. Everybody is more interested in running their business than in having the latest and greatest.
Well, and also, I think there's also something, I'm big on images that are in people's heads. That what we need to remember is the businesses that we're serving are wanting an official document that they could walk into a court or in front of a government official or somebody like that and present as basically authoritative.
Yes. And it needs to
someone signed it.
Yes, it needs to be. Yes, it needs to be authoritative. It needs to so provable,
right?
And it needs to be compatible. Some of you guys probably remember the old days of email, like in the very early 90s, when the customer, if you were running CCmail, you could not send an email to somebody running MSmail or MHS from Novell. Everybody was communicating on the little islands.
Yeah.
So this is where those open standards of faxes, like or email or SMTP email or SMS, are great. So you don't have to think about the recipient's equipment. You just need those coordinates, and off you go. And then look at the kind of data you want to transmit. Is it data? Is it document? Yeah, but it has sent authority. It's highly compatible. It's reliable. It's measurable, and it's not expensive.
Right. Well, with that, is this actually a channel opportunity? My channel partner, MSP readers, even the service providers, is there something here for them?
Let's put it like that. 80% of my revenue is channel.
And is this almost, it sounds to me, it goes from being something that maybe isn't on your radar as a channel to almost a no-brainer, that you're already there, maybe selling other products.
Yeah.
And you go and talk to the dentist, the partners that run the dental practice. Hey, by the way, how do you place your orders? How do you share with the state dental records and so on? Find out.
Yeah, it's typically you find that business either in infrastructure. So it's often within workplace messaging. In very large organizations, it's actually with this asynchronous communication, like close to voice. This is where a lot of our agent partners are finding those opportunities because they have been serving their customers with voice services for decades. On the infrastructure tech kind of part, on the second, what we call buying center, as I call it, there's business. Those people who run and own the application that needs to communicate. So sometimes this is the director of sales who wants to make sure that they can receive orders coming in and they can send proposals out.
Well, I think everyone needs to put on their thinking cap and rethink. We're not talking about fax. We're not talking about fax machines. We're talking about FoIP, and it is a really interesting opportunity. Martin, I want to thank you for joining me today. Where can we learn more?
Always on www.retarus.com.
Okay, that is the place, right?
Yes.
All right. Now I want to thank you, and let's keep this conversation going.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity and to your audience. Thank you.